Hello friends! Getting old sucks. Trust me, my joints sound like a Victorian-era rocking horse that's crushing a stack of rice cakes. But holding on to the past can be unhealthy. This week on Heat Vision Breakdown, we look at the growing and somewhat troubling trend of franchises aging along with their fan bases, and often alienating younger audiences who were once their target base. Be it your childhood hometown, Susan Boitano at 10th grade prom, or the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, eventually we all outgrow the things we once loved. Well, actually, maybe we don't. You see, with the recent fad in Hollywood being to reboot every franchise from the 1980s and 90s, it turns out the past really doesn't have to die. Instead, it can be summoned from its grave by studio execromancers, looking to wring a few extra $1 million from its corpse. This not only allows fandom to exist in a state of arrested development, I'm looking at you, guy who spent hours online complaining Luke Skywalker wouldn't mope around on an island for a decade. Wait, that's me. It might also be stunting the progress of art itself. In the past few years, we have seen big studio remakes and reboots of the Power Rangers, Transformers, Jumanji, G.I. Joe, even my beloved Ninja Turtles. Except Donatello. What a piece of garbage he is. Oops. While many of us millennials remember these franchises from our childhood, their reboots weren't primarily aimed at children. Sorry, Mackenzie, but you just can't appreciate the nuances of Optimus Prime's endless struggles with the Decepticons on as many levels as I can. While the success of these grittier, more risque reboots varies, Transformers and Jumanji were mega hits, G.I. Joe and TMNT less so, they do represent an issue, that audiences crave nostalgia, but in a way that is aimed at them now, as adults. The notion of, this is for us, not for kids, has been tossed about for such films as Batman v Superman, Trial of the Century, and The Last Jedi, a troubling sentiment, if not altogether unsurprising. At least My Little Pony is still safe, right? Right?
Brownie!
George Lucas himself has noted that Star Wars was intended for 12-year-olds, and indeed it was a big hit with youngsters in the 1970s and a new generation 2 decades later. But the latter trilogy, quality notwithstanding, infuriated older fans who wanted a more adult take on the universe. It's true that nostalgia has always been a part of pop culture at its finest. Best Picture winner Forrest Gump is literally a greatest hits of events from the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. Back to the Future similarly played up a yearning for the 50s, while Star Wars and Indiana Jones are riffs on old serials that Lucas and Spielberg grew up obsessing over. But those stories also created something new, rather than simply aging up old properties. They might be said to be more analogous to today's 1980s set Stranger Things, creating something fresh by drawing upon the past, like putting a mustache on Donald Trump. To be sure, there's plenty of fresh ideas that have come thanks to fandom's refusal to grow up. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is helping give audiences a reason to go to the movie theater rather than staying home to Netflix and chill. While Tom Cruise's refusal to stop playing a character he debuted more than 20 years ago is helping remind audiences what it looks like to see something that's not just CGI. Assuming Tom Cruise is in fact a real human being. And not every modern resurrection of once sensational properties has opted to appeal to adults. R.L. Stine's book series Goosebumps, which led to a popular television series in the 90s, which scared the crap out of me, was adapted as a film in 2015. A sequel, Goosebumps 2: Haunted Halloween, a redundant title, is set for release on October 12th this year. Ava Duvernay's A Wrinkle in Time is another film that struck a chord with younger audiences more so than adults who read the book series growing up. Of course, studios are not rebooting IP from millennials' childhood just for the hell of it. They're doing it because it's selling tickets, so the only ones to blame are the viewers themselves. Yeah, the truth hurts. The issue with rebooting a franchise that ages along with its audience is that it can be an all-or-nothing gamble on a quick box office score. By making your film primarily to appeal to its pre-established audience, you run the risk of losing out on a new, younger one that could continue being fans into their twilight years and take their own children to see Fraggle Rock reignited in a never-ending cycle of cute little kids struggling to handle gigantic buckets of popcorn. Aw. The overall point is none of us actually own any of these franchises, unless your last name happens to be Lucas, Abrams, or Disney. It's probably not. These movies mean something to us because we grew up with them and they helped, in whatever capacity, to shape us into the adults that we turned out to be. To demand that they age with us and continue to appeal to our sensibilities only at whatever stage of life we are currently living through is to deny that formative experience to the generation behind us. Not everything has to be made for you, and to understand and accept that opens the door to the realization that so much more of the world can be enjoyed by you and others. And that's what the Ninja Turtles would have wanted. Except Donatello.
Ninja Cowboy!
So what do you think? Do you like the trend of reboots? Would you like to see more? Have you taken issue with my slamming of Donatello and want to defend him? Let us know in the comments right down there, and check back here every Friday morning for new episodes of Heat Vision Breakdown.